from air, and hydrogen as the energy source. So that's basically the main route.
I think you have some slides.
Yeah, I was just looking to open them. Are they now visible? Probably. At least I see them. So yeah, basically the idea is to have a fermentation process which utilizes land more efficiently and doesn't actually rely on any arable land to produce food, and especially in this case protein-rich food ingredient. So currently, of course, quite large amount of habitable land is used for food production, either for agriculture, for crop production, either directly for human consumption, but especially quite a lot of the agricultural land is actually for feed production and for livestock. So the main benefit, in addition to some others, is to reduce this need for arable land. If we think about the production process itself, this shows the main parts, and I think for this audience, the parts in the middle where we have electricity and the electrolyzer to produce hydrogen and oxygen split to water is probably quite familiar. So our process actually utilizes both hydrogen and some of the oxygen also from the electrolyzer, and carbon dioxide that is captured from air via direct air capture devices. So the main feeds for the process are actually carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and oxygen, and these are gases that are fed to our fermentation process. So this is actually quite different from the traditional beer brewing or other. It's the ingredients basically that are more different. But I think the beauty of the process is that our microbe can basically generate all the vitamins and whatever it needs in addition to the protein from inorganic compounds, so carbon dioxide, hydrogen, oxygen, and then we of course have some minerals, calcium, magnesium, sodium, whatever the organism needs.
And so what's the end product? Could you tell us, because I understand protein is the main component, but what else is there?
The Solein contains mainly protein, so about 65% of protein, or less than 10% of fat, and then carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are mainly in form of dietary fibers, actually, so not really sugars as such, but as a fiber form. And then, of course, as I mentioned, some minerals, some 4% of minerals.
What sort of minerals are these?
Magnesium, potassium, iron, basically similar that are of course found in other food products. There is always in plants and in meat there is always some minerals.
Great. And so when we have this end product, I assume, is that a powder, and what do you do with it? What do you do with this product? What form does it have, and what sort of foods can it go into?
Yes, so the end product from our current pilot facility and also from the demo facility that we are now planning to build is dried powder with about this composition. And then of course we have team for product development. So this powder can then be used in a variety of different products. And we have actually recently launched a website which you can look into what kind of end applications we have looked at so far, and what are the advantages of Solein in this product. So Solein.com is for this end product, and basically more on the food side applications. So I of course work more on the technology and the production technology side. But then of course when the powder is there, there are a variety of applications that it can be used. You might have some figures from the food development that it has been used. So different even like pasta applications, or in some confectionery, and different meat replacement products. Of course, the high protein content makes it good for meat replacement products, and then the high protein content makes it also in some applications very favorable, as it has some functional properties, for example foaming or forming emulsions, which are looked for in the food industry from the ingredients.
Right. And so let's talk about bringing this bringing Solein onto supermarket shelves.
Yeah.
Could you tell us how scalable is this technology, and at what stage of the commercialization are you? And also maybe if you could shed some light on the costs.
Yeah. So currently we are producing. It's a continuous process. It's running 24/7 at our pilot facility here in Espoo, just next door from me. And we are running like a 200-liter reactor with production of some kilos a day, few kilos a week. And we are planning the demonstrator facility with 100 times the capacity. I actually have a good slide for this with our roadmap. So this is refined roadmap from the beginning of the company. So we were founded more than 3 years ago, and the first thing was of course building the pilot, and then now we are somewhere in the middle of this roadmap. So we have secured the funding for demonstrator facility, and started planning the demo. And then the first demo factory somewhere in next 2 years to be producing basically 40 million meals per day. So it's about 100 tons of the product.
Mm-hmm. So when do you expect to start selling Solein?
The selling needs basically two things. So of course enough production capacity to be on the market in sufficient amounts, for which this demonstrator facility will answer. And then as we are planning to launch it in European Union, this, and basically this is of course the same whatever the region, this kind of product probably needs food authorization, and in the European Union it's the European Food Safety Association and that process takes also some time. So currently there is the track of building the demonstrator and getting the needed permits for the food application.
And just very briefly, if you could tell us as well about the carbon footprint of the production, because this is one of the things that we're paying attention to. I understand it's still carbon positive, or where do you see kind of reductions?
Yeah, of course, we're calculating the carbon footprints. A lot of it depends on where you set the boundaries, where you what you actually calculate. So if we just take the production process itself, it of course requires the electricity for electrolysis, and also running the factory and some heat and so on. So that process itself is carbon positive still. It's much more efficient still in terms of carbon footprint when compared to, for example, soy. If we compare protein in soy or with our process, it's more efficient. And of course, if we can free arable land and use it for forestation, then it can be a carbon negative actually. So it depends also on if we think about that we can free land from agriculture, that of course can act as a carbon sink basically.
Okay, great. And so we've got some questions from the audience.
Yeah.
One is from Don Tarindu Magdara. He's asking, where would you source the minerals in the process?
The minerals are, of course, basically from they are usually from the earth core, basically. So, or salts can be, some of the salt can be natrium chloride, can be sourced from the sea, but basically from mining, basically. Of course, the amount of minerals is very small compared to, it's less than 4% actually.
Okay, and Michael Epler from Germany has a question concerning the DAC. Now, do you have your own technology, or who are you partnering with or planning to partner with?
We don't have our own technology, so we have had this kind of container in our pilot. We are actually getting a new one right now. So that one was it was more of a research device with local research institute. But of course now that technology is going forward very fast, and we are looking for partners for the demonstrator, but we don't have anything to tell about that yet. But of course, something that we are looking for also very much.
And question from Nihil Matthew, where exactly is hydrogen being used in the process, and how much hydrogen for how much Solein? So I guess we've got a question on the ratio.
Yeah, so the microbe itself, it's if we compare it to plants of course utilize carbon dioxide, reduce it similarly. They just use the light as their energy source. So basically the hydrogen is the energy source for the microbe, so that its metabolism can utilize the carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, we cannot tell the exact ratios of hydrogen that is used, but it's more efficient, or the energy efficiency from electricity to edible calories is can be up to 20%. So it's actually more efficient than plants, how they utilize the energy.
And a follow-up question on what you said, Brahim is asking, when you mentioned that Solein production can happen in the desert, what do you mean by that?
I mean that we don't need any land for it. So if you think about desert, you cannot really grow anything, but this production takes place in steel tanks, like some similar that you can see actually in breweries. So as long as you can, the main ingredient is actually the energy, and we can get the carbon dioxide from air. Of course, the desert will probably give also some practical difficulties, but it's definitely possible to do it.
And Tarun had a question on whether you can use this process to help ferment things like kefir, cheese, or pickles.
Actually, this kind of process is not for that. So the main idea for us is to be free of anything organic, basically, so that we don't need anything that has been grown in by agriculture. So we are, of course, there are a lot of different sort of cellular agriculture approaches, starting from the traditional, that kind of fermentation, but they use different kind of microbes, and it's not our area actually that we work.
Yeah, I wanted to know actually on the microbes, where do those microbes come from? How do you source them?
These from the nature. So these type of microbes usually live in like in the soil layer somewhere in different areas. So actually, how we first started as a company, I wasn't actually then working here yet, but the first thing was to find the right microbe from screening from different environmental samples to find something that is edible, good, safe, and also grows efficiently in these kind of conditions.
Mm-hmm. And Johannes Golden is asking, how much water is consumed in the process?
The water consumption is, unfortunately, I don't remember all this by heart, but basically the efficiency of water use compared to, for example, agriculture is 100 times less, because there's no loss of water, especially in agriculture. If you have to water the fields, there is quite a lot of loss of water, but here we can actually recirculate a lot of the water that is used in the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have any more questions from the audience, it looks like it. And so I guess I could just ask one final question. When do you see cellular agriculture being widely adopted, and do you think it can go pair in pair with traditional agriculture?
Yes, of course. I think the next, and of course, cellular agriculture is already going into market. We have seen licenses in Singapore for cultured meat, for example, and we are planning to be on market in few years. So it's definitely coming. Of course, the question is when we can say that it's widely adopted, but I would say that next 10 years will show us a lot, and I think it will become more and more mainstream as new products are appearing. Of course, traditional agriculture will be probably always on the side. So my favorite vegetable is broccoli, and I don't want to miss that. So of course there are needs for traditional agriculture as well.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you, Petri, for answering all the questions. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.